Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new installment of Hondo's HoloNet's TV show reviews. So now we have weekly podcasts, we have the movie reviews, and now we have the TV show reviews. So last night was the finale of Andor, and that whole season, all of season two, I think it was far better than season one, though I enjoyed season one. I thought that season two was far better. I thought they really showed the evilness of the Empire while showing the hope of the select few of the rebellion. So, it started off where Andor was trying to get home. He stole the TIE fighter, and all the scenes with the TIE fighter, wow, were just fantastically shot, and the CGI and all of it was like crisp and clean, and it was just a great entrance. Although I was bored the first few episodes, I thought that episodes one through three were just whatever. Um, but I really just enjoyed the visuals of Andor the first week it came out. I was confused with the story a bit because I thought it was random, but I also was confused with season one, the first few episodes, and I thought that was kind of random and out of place and frankly boring. So but I still enjoyed it, and I held on because I knew what the show was gonna do. So I really enjoyed the look of just the first few episodes, seeing seeing the separate stories with Bix doing her own thing and evading the Empire, and Andor trying to escape these rebels, but not really trying to get home, and then Brezzo dying and Will and Bix getting out of there. Um, when Andor comes back, I just thought that the first three, like I said, I was a little bored, but towards the end of three, I was like, okay, it's picking up and it's moving. Um, I thought that there was so much that Andor, throughout the whole season, Andor could have done that he didn't, and I'll get into it in a bit, but I just thought that Andor, you know, really was the embodiment of what a rebel should look like. So my favorite episode was was nine. I really enjoyed Mon Mothma's speech, and then getting her out to Andor coming in and saving her. I thought that it was very fast paced and fast moving in the best way. Eight, the Gorman destruction was the Gorman massacre, excuse me, was awesome too. I mean, just getting to see stormtroopers and gores and everybody just all shoot each other, and I mean that's awesome Star Wars. But watching Mon Mothma give her speech, and it ties in right into Rebels season 3 episode 18 where the rebels come in and they save Mon. Um, I think that, or at least they pick her up. I think that they did it really well. They came in, and watching her prepare to give her speech, like, hey, the what happened on Gore was the Emperor's fault, and it was planned, and it was a massacre, and the Gore didn't do anything wrong, right? And then Andor the whole time, Bail Organa, who has his team. Um, and one of them works for the Empire, and then Luthen, who sends Andor. Um, I thought that whole play where it's like Andor just has to keep moving because of I don't know his name. I can't think of his name, but uh, Mon Mothma's assistant, him getting fired, thinking, oh my gosh, he's actually a traitor. He's working with somebody else. He's working with Luthen or the Empire, right? and and then actually finding out that he's just looking out for Mon Mothma and has her in his best interest. So he goes and he meets with Clea, and well, he meets with Cassian, and he stays and lets and deals with all the guards and everything in the Senate guards, and then Andor takes Mon Mothma and leaves. Again, the fast-paced movement of episode 9 is what made it my favorite. The story again was great. I really enjoyed watching Andor and Mon Mothma meet for the first time, and that one line where She's like, "You just killed a man," or and then Andor turns around and is like, "Welcome to the rebellion." I just thought really that whole episode was just wow, like that is great writing. Now, I'm not the type to say, "Oh, this is the best thing Star Wars has ever done ever," but it's up there. I think in my ranking it's still right at number 8 because it's great, don't get me wrong. Um, but I think that other movies, other TV shows, and the only other TV shows are Clone Wars and Mandalorian, just really play into the whole Star Wars niche, and I think that is just more intriguing when it comes to Star Wars because Star Wars can be grounded like Andor and Gilroy did it real well, but Star Wars, you always think of this mystical, fantastical world with the Force and lightsabers, and a friend and I were talking about this yesterday, but Star Wars can be grounded if done right, and Andor is just that thing that was done right. And like Tony Gilroy, fantastic writer, fantastic director. But but I just think that when you think of Star Wars, you think of lightsabers, the Force, you think of flying and spaceships and star fights, right? Starfighters fights, yeah. So so again, but Andor episode 9 was my favorite. 8, the destruction of Gore, the Gore massacre. Watching probably the best line in the show. Um, And if I said that for Mon Mothma, I was lying. Or the Welcome to the Rebellion, I was lying. No, the best line in the show was when Cyril finally caught up to Andor and beat the shit out of him. And they were going at it. And and Andor looks in Cyril's face, and Andor goes, "Who are you?" To know that Cyril has been tracking down Andor for God knows how long and made it his goal, his mission, that Andor is the one. Andor is a bad guy, and Andor doesn't even know who Cyril is. Cyril has spent so much time obsessing over Andor, and Cyril means nothing to Andor. Andor is, and it really shows what type of character Cyril was. Cyril was not even a pawn. He was just the dog for Deidre and the rest of the Empire. He wasn't anything. He wasn't ever meant to be anything. He got shot in the head right then and there, and nobody cared. Like, he got shot. You see Deidre, she's upset, but is she really even upset about Cyril dying? They don't go into that. But really, you could tell that nobody cared. Krennic mentions him later on, and Krennic just is he doesn't even say anything. It was in the last 3 episodes. I think it was in episode not 12 last night, and he mentioned something, but he didn't even say Cyril's name. He just said your friend or your person or whatever he said. But Cyril meant nothing, and for Cyril to go that crazy over Andor, for Andor to not even know who he is, and then for the Empire to not even care when he dies, shows that really everything he's done was for nothing. And he was just great. At first it was like whatever, he was a shitty character in the first one, like he was a bad guy, he just wanted to kill Andor. But one thing that I forgot was that Andor doesn't know who Cyril is, and Andor never really got to find out because Cyril got benched and now he worked at ISB headquarters, and then he was moved to Gore as just a um he was just somebody there to basically spy on the Gores. Um, so Cyril was a great character the whole, and his death was kind of sad to know that he I think when Anders said, "Who even are you?" I think he realized that he didn't mean anything to the galaxy, and his mother was right. As annoying his mother was right. His mother told him not to do that because it don't matter. Go back to your job at the ISB headquarters, you'll be fine. But he got he got what his mother told him he was going to get, and it's a shame, but it happened. But again, he was just as bad as the rest of the Empire, so it doesn't matter. One ISB agent dead. So then last night's episodes were something completely different. They felt like their own mini season. You start off learning more about Luthen and Clea's backstory, And something about Luthen is that he remained this mysterious figure the whole time. So when they went into his backstory, everybody, or at least I know everybody was thinking, hey, we want to know more about Luthen. But even going into his backstory, they didn't give you much about Luthen, which I really enjoyed. You found out where him and Clea met and how he took Clea in as his daughter, but you don't know what war he was in. You figured he was fighting the Empire. You don't know, much about where he comes from. His name isn't even Luthen Rael. He said it. He said we're gonna go up by Luthen and Clea now. So, and then it makes it all so much harder for Clea to actually kill him or take him off of the life support when you find out what he means to Clea. So that whole episode was very it was a slow episode, but slow in a good way where they could really tell the story. And this was episode 10 where they could really tell the story about where Luthen and Clea comes from, why their bond is so strong, and why everything that Clea has to do this episode is just so much harder, and why she's so much more emotional. Because you could tell they have an emotional connection just throughout the series. He's her assistant, but you could also tell that she's kind of just straight faced. We've never actually seen her in an emotional standpoint, and she's always been just a straight faced, yeah, I'm gonna do what I have to do. If Luthen does something wrong, she's gonna call him out for it. But she's just gonna be straight faced the whole time. And if she's angry, she'll change a little bit and get a little angry. But we've never actually seen her happy and sad like we did in the last three episodes. But Clea, she was fantastic. She was these last the 10 and 11 more. She was less than 12, but 10 and 11, her character just really you could see the breakdown and the build back up of yes, she had to kill Luthen, but she did it for the rebellion and she knew Luthen wanted it, but all the time it was emotional for her. So, episode 10, like I said, really slow, but really good. I mean, there was so much just, again, more fast moving, fast paced when she blew up the ships at the hospital and she killed a bunch of ISB guards and stormtroopers, and that was awesome. And then, you see Andor come in the next episode come in and save her. And Andor and K2SO and his friend, I don't remember his friend's name, but they come in and they leave the rebellion and they save her. And I said this as I was watching it multiple times, episode 11 and 12. The rebellion is almost as bad as the Empire. And Andor said this in an earlier earlier part of the season. Andor said, "The moment you tell me when I can and cannot go and do what I need to do is the moment I leave." And then the rebellion starts saying he can't leave, in episode 11 when he leaves, they're all pissy. They're like, "Wait, stop him." And then in 12 when he comes back, they're like, "Oh, you're grounded and you're put on house arrest practically because you left without our permission." That's not a rebellion. A rebellion, obviously, there has to be measures taken to be safe, but you can't completely stop people from doing what they want because then they become no better than the Empire. And Bail Organa, and I wish it was Jimmy Smits, but again, it's okay. They had to work with what they had, and I thought this guy did great at playing Bail. It's not his fault that they had to recast, but he did a good job. And honestly, he's at his own fault. He's the reason that he died. Andor came back, and Clea came back, and Andor warned him, and Andor warned everybody in the room. And Andor said, Luthen found out about the Death Star. Like, this isn't just a Empire energy project or the Emperor's energy project. It's the Death Star. They're building a big space station where they could blow up planets. And nobody believed him. And not even Mon Mothma believed him. And that really blew my mind because she sent, can't think of her name, but her cousin, the one who helped with the first, was friends with Luthen, who helped with the first heist and who helped take the guns on Gorman. But she she didn't believe him. Mon Mothma didn't believe him and had her go and see if it's the truth. But with all Andor has been through and all Luthen has been through. And Andor said it, and it was another one of the greatest speeches and greatest little sections of Andor was when Andor said, Luthen did everything to make everything here, Yavin 4, because now they're fully based on Yavin. Um, Andor said, yeah, Luthen, without Luthen, none of this exists. None of you guys would be here. And to hear his name walk through the water, drag through the mud multiple times just because they didn't believe him for something that he died over. He died over the fact that he just wants the rebellion to find out about the Death Star because he could have took the one guy and he could have went to Yavin 4 and been done. And Luthen could have survived on Yavin, and Kleia could have survived. Well, she did, but Kleia could have went to Yavin and been with Luthen, and Young, the Imperial officer who was the rebel spy, could have went with his family. But Luthen knew the cause, and Luthen knew what had to be done. So Luthen died for this information, and for the rebellion to sit there, and for Bail Organa to sit there and say Luthen was not a good person. Luthen, was just he wasn't a true rebel. Andor really, Andor had every right to go crazy, and he did, and I would have went crazier because again, Luthen died for this whole movement, Luthen's whole point, and it kind of comes up a little later where Andor tells Bail that Luthen and him would have gotten along because Bail said that the only way he's going to die to the Empire is go down swinging, and that's the same thing. That's Luthen's idea the whole time, and that's what happened with Luthen. But you see Bail Organa is like, you're the reason, you died. You didn't get it out fast enough. The Death Star was built because less people listened to Luthen. Now I know that it's really not that simple. It's a lot more complicated. Like the Death Star was already mostly built, and we see it at the end. We see Krennic looking out the window at the Death Star. It looked awesome, by the way, but we see that and it's like, wow, yeah, they're already so far in, but there were so many pieces that could have been placed at the right times, and that was just one that happened to be, it was kind of too late. But again, the rebellion ended up being almost as bad as the Empire. The last episode, um, which was a great episode, it really tied everything together. The only thing we didn't find out through the whole series was what happened to Andor's sister. My guess is she died. The whole season, the whole series, I thought maybe she joined the Empire. But now that they didn't really show anything, I'm guessing she died when she was a kid. But you see the whole him going through Yavin, kind of talking to Mon Mothma's cousin, talking to Kleia, um, talking to Will, all of these little pieces that just go around, kind of tying up loose ends, talking to Bale. Um, then you see at the end, really, this is the major major scene. At the end, he's leaving, and he looks over at the Force sensitive lady, the Force healer from a few episodes ago, and he nods at her and she nods back, and me and my friend were talking, and we do think that he saw his own death when she healed him, and and she saw his death, so it's kind of like a, yeah, they sensed it together, and he knows what has to happen and she knows what has to happen, um because they looked at each other and they made the connection, and they kind of just both nodded, and he moved on, and I thought that scene was a very good scene because we don't have to know what he saw, what she saw, what they saw together. We really just know that there is a connection. So whatever they saw, whatever they went through together, we know that she knows what's happening next and he knows what's happening next. Whether it's just that the rebellion won or that he died or that their mission is actually successful, um but not everybody makes it out. There's a lot of different things. Or, which is not one that many people talk about, but maybe he saw that Bix was pregnant because at the end of the episode, we see, we go through, we see Andor leave on the ship with K2SO. We see Krennic looking at the Death Star, and then we see Bix walk out and look into the sky, and she's holding baby Andor. And, I'm assuming that's why she left. She didn't want Andor tied up in both the rebellion and her baby and his baby. So she wanted him. She knew another thing me and my friend were talking about. She knew that the galaxy needed him and that um, he would have chose his family over the galaxy, and she knew that that wasn't the right choice. But maybe Andor saw the the baby, the future of the baby. Now we don't know. This baby could be anybody. I saw somebody just 20 minutes ago say that the baby is Poe. I don't believe that. I don't think that it has to be that. I don't want it to be that. I think this kid could just be his own kid. Um, be Baby Casa, whatever they name him, whatever. I don't care, but just please not Poe. Um, but I think that to show that Bix moved back home, we got to see B finally. Uh, he was in the robot. He was in the first three episodes, and then he didn't show up again. And he's with Bix and the baby, so he has his family again. So that's all good. Um, but but it opens up so many possibilities for the rest of, because by the time the sequels happen, by the time Mando happens, he has to be, you know, in teenager years. So there's so many kids, and the future of Star Wars is looking bright right now because we have so many, whether they're force sensitive, whether they're not. We don't know who Baby Andor is yet, and we don't need to know if there's anybody, and I'm sure that he will come back. It makes sense. Andor, if this was 10 years ago during Rogue One, I would have said no, it doesn't matter. The Baby Andor doesn't have to come back. But after they made Andor such an important figure in the rebellion, they're probably going to bring back this baby, and I'm really interested to see what they do. Um, but overall, Andor, I didn't rate this season yet. I'm thinking about it. It'll definitely go up on my personal Instagram. I'm out of five. I'm thinking like a 4.5, 4, something around there. Um, but I really have to do a deep dive, and I'll review it on my Instagram as well. But overall, great season. Not too action packed, which surprised me. The gore was the most action packed episode, the Gorman Massacre. But overall, it was great. I enjoyed it. This is another show I recommend that anybody checks out. Excuse me. Um, but yeah, I am excited to see more Star Wars coming up. We got Mandalorian and Grogu, Ahsoka, and I know we have some time in between more Star Wars stuff, but I know it's gonna be good because so far all of Mandalorian was good, Ahsoka was good, Starfighters look super interesting, and maybe we could see that Rangers of the New Republic show with Will and Baby Calsa. We don't know, but again, I'm gonna wait and see, and I can't wait because Andor ended perfectly and they tied the bow on top. Well, that's really all I had for today. Just quick Andor TV show review. This is HoloNets TV show review. Gotta find a better name for that. But again, Andor was fantastic. Definitely check it out. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.